What's up? I'm Transformers and welcome back to the lab. As you can see, we have the bench Bearcat BCT-7 out, and it probably looks a bit more Borg-like. I'll get to that in a second. So, why do we have it out? C. Haas on YouTube asked, can you tell me how to fix a BCT-7 that doesn't hold a memory once power has been unplugged? Sure thing, and I'll do you one better and actually show you what needs to be replaced. So, just getting to this fast before we undo it. And as we can see, my memories still work while unplugged. So this is just the same two switches that I had running out before, to where we can power it on without our ears being destroyed by the power on self-test every single time. So just bypasses that, and then we can just switch our audio back on like that. But this is a discriminator tap, which goes to one of our ICs on the top section over here, which is MC3361BD, pin 9, and then we're doing some filtering. That just goes to an audio jack that you can plug into a USB sound card or something, and then plug into a computer to decode digital modes like DMR and things like that, which could breathe a little bit more life into an older machine like this. It just sucks that it only has 25 memories per bank, but that's okay, because it's still insanely fast at 100 channels a second. I don't really use it too much anymore now that I have some other digital mode ones, but it can still breathe some life into yours. If anyone would want me to do a video on that, just let me know. I'm going to fast forward and unscrew everything and show you what needs to be done. Okay, welcome back. We've got all the screws out. Let's begin taking our covers off. You will have to take off both covers because you'll need to, of course, unsolder that super capacitor from the board. It does not use a normal battery type memory, like a CR2032 or something you'd see like on the motherboard of a computer or something. It uses a capacitor, which is interesting. So basically on this side of the board, these two connections up here, this one is the positive side of that super capacitor, and this one is the negative side of it. Do get one that's probably tabbed. I'll show you a better view of that in a second here. And then on the other side, that's where we pull off to get the discriminator output and things, but that's for a different video, so if anyone wants to see it, let me know. So this right here is your super capacitor. So that, labeled on the board as C147, is a 0.047 farad, 5.5 volt supercapacitor, or memory capacitor, if you will. That's what I would probably search for, 5.5 volt memory capacitor, see if you could find one that's about that same size. Should be about that same size. You do want one with tabs on it, that way it's easier to just unsolder and replace from these two connection points. So with tabs, because if it's not, it's probably not going to have that exact pin spacing to get into those two slots there. So again, that is a 0.047 farad, 5.5 volt memory capacitor. I would search for them on like Mauser or DigiKey or something, but if you can't find it from there, don't have an account or whatever, you can look on eBay. Do be mindful of not getting ones like this, which don't have the tabs and just have two legs on it, because those legs most likely are not going to line up properly. And also some like this that have the tabs facing the same side probably aren't going to line up necessarily either, because one would need to be folded over, because as you can see on here, so like this is actually the negative side of the capacitor that I'm touching there, and then the positive side is below it, tab folds over and goes into the board like that. So probably you'd want one with offset tabs instead of ones like this that both point in the same direction. So probably something like this, a 0.047 farad, 5.5 volt super cap and memory capacitor. So notice that it has the tabs bent accordingly, just the way we want, basically. So notice how that one is a flat slot, so left or negative side, so that would be the one that is positioned upwards. And then this one, because it's got a little plus symbol, is the positive side. So you're going to want to get something like that. And if you really can't find that and don't want to wait, you could bodge in a normal capacitor, as long as it is about 5.5 volt rated, so like 6 volt cap or something. That should work okay. More capacitance is just going to be better, if anything, because it's just going to give you more than 30 days, which was the factory spec for 0.047 farad. So 0.047 farad, 5.5 volt super cap with tabs like that gives you, according to Uniden, 30 days of memory. but you could replace it with a bigger one if needed. And again, the connection points for that are these two here on the like when you're looking at it from the face, left-hand side of the board. And that one that's isolated is our positive tab, and this one is our negative tab. So, technically I could show you from either side of the board. I'm just going to turn the speaker off here, that way it doesn't get super loud. Let's show you exactly what the voltages of that when in operation are. So, let's see if I can position this to see our meter here. We can go ahead and get you a reading on those 2 points. So, we have 5.2 volts at the moment on our meter, is what that says, so 5.2 when it's normally active. When we turn it off while plugged in, let's see if that somehow changes any. I assume, because when plugged in it still leaves it there for a bit, so 5.4 something. Yeah, so it is actually charging it while it's plugged in. If we unplug it, and then let's turn on the radio, that way it pulls the energy out of the rest of the capacitors. And let's see what we get for our points there now. 1.8 dropping, 1.6, 5, 4, 1.3 something. Yeah, okay, so mine's not in the best of health either. Wow, it almost said lead there for a second. Interesting. So mine's not in the best of health either, dropping all the way down to 1.2 some volts. So I will actually be probably replacing mine too. Thanks for the heads up. One other thing to make note of is the overall dimensions. So this was one of the later models, which was a I think made in 1996. It's one of the short boys. They've got if you've got one of the long boy versions that goes all the way out to about here, it could be a little bit of a different layout, so do be mindful of that. But in general, it's going to be the only cap that is tabbed like that. And on the newer Unidens, it is labeled C147. And that's basically what you would do. So what I'm going to do now is, just for paranoid reasons, I'm going to take measurements on the inside as well, just to make sure. So the top of that capacitor is, of course, the negative side, and I'll be probing the bottom side here, which is the positive side of that. Yep, 5.44 when plugged in. When on, 5.2. Interesting how it's 5.2. Yeah. And then when off, while capacitors are drained, yeah, 2 volts all the way dropping down to like 1.2 on mine. So not the best of health. Yours is probably even worse, I guess, if it's not holding its memory anymore. But in general, yeah, look up a 0.047 farad 5.5 volt memory capacitor, and try and find one with tabs on opposite sides. That way you can just unsolder that one, solder that one in, and wish you luck, and hope everything works out.